Okay, so 5 minutes have passed. That should be enough for everybody to arrive. I see that the majority of people is here. So I'm happy to open up our webinar, and I would like to welcome everybody to this webinar about measurement and verification in compliance with IPMVP. Our webinar is scheduled to take no more than 1 hour. My name is Dieter Schallenberg. I'm the Commercial Director for Energis, and I will be the host of today's webinar. During our webinar, we have 3 expert speakers sharing information and knowledge about the specific topic. In case you have any questions for our 3 experts, you will find a chat box on the bottom right of your screen. This is in the control panel of this webinar session. In this chat box, you can write and submit all of the questions you have, and you can do this at any time. You do not have to wait until the end of the webinar. You can do it during the webinar. We will collect all your questions, and they will be handled by our experts at the end of this webinar. If there is insufficient time to treat all of your questions, the remaining questions that have not been answered will be answered to you via email as a follow-up on our webinar. Our first expert is Denis Tanguay. Denis is the Executive Director of EVO. Denis, make sure to say hi to people.
Hi.
Hi. EVO is the efficiency valuation organization, and EVO here takes up the role of coordinating the ongoing development of the International Performance Measurement and Verification Protocol, which is IPMVP. He also master's degree in economics from Carleton University and has been working in the energy sector since 1986. Our second expert is August Kiranlar.
Hello.
Welcome. August is an energy engineer and product manager at Energis, an ICT company providing an open, flexible platform for energy monitoring called Energis Cloud. This platform can be further customized by partners such as Ingenium to build digital solutions, for example, platform measurement and verification of energy savings, as we will see in today's webinar. This brings us to our third expert, Matthias Suliani.
Hello, everybody. Hi.
Welcome. Matthias is an energy expert from Ingenium. He acts as a project manager for energy and sustainability projects, such as energy performance contracting. Also, he is a certified measurement and verification professional by EVO since 2014. On the agenda for today, we have 3 main topics. First are the latest updates on IPMVP and MMV. Secondly, we will elaborate on how to facilitate MMV of energy savings in compliance with IPMVP. This part also covers a short demo. Third topic will be sharing of best practices in the field. These 3 topics are then followed by the Q&A, during which our experts will answer the questions that you have submitted to the chat box during this webinar. Again, you can find this chat box on the bottom right of your webinar control panel. I will now invite Denis Tanguay, our first expert, to take the word.
Thank you, Dieter. I guess with your presentation, I heard that I've been working in the energy sector since 1986. That makes me like 35 years in the energy sector, which is a lot, but I'm still enjoying it, and I'm particularly enjoying my work at EVO. Can you put the first slide, please, Dieter? Thank you. As Dieter mentioned, EVO owns the International Performance Measurement and Verification Protocol, and actually we've been maintaining this protocol since 1996. And one of the, actually EVO is the only organization that I'm aware of in the world that has as a sole mission to dedicate itself to measurement and verification and to quantify energy savings and create tools to help in doing that. In our vision, since the beginning, and then you see here that there are two words that are important. The first one is confidence and reliable. And very often in my career, I've seen people putting doubts on, well, energy efficiency, yes, but we don't have confidence, or the numbers that people are giving us are not reliable. And that's what I like with our vision, is that we want to create this world where stakeholders have confidence in energy efficiency, and also believe that this is reliable as an energy source. And how is this vision translated? Well, it's translated through our mission. And I underline the important part of it is the appropriate measurement and verification of the energy savings. So that's what stakeholders in the industry are looking for, and that's what I've heard for all my career. Next slide, please. And I know that most of the people on the call today are MNV expert, or they know about MNV, but what is MNV? MNV is basically a concept that is meant to reduce performance risk at an acceptable level. And risk comes partly out of performance uncertainty, which comes from the nature of the savings. And essentially, what we're trying to do here is measure something that doesn't exist. Savings in themselves are the absence of energy consumption, and as such, we're trying to measure emptiness or something, or nothingness. That's what makes very often the people or stakeholders say that, well, we don't really rely on your measurement. But that's exactly what the IPMVP is about, is to create a meter, or MNV is the meter of energy efficiency. And what I describe as every meter needs some calibration, and what the IPMVP does is to provide this framework to which you can calibrate your energy efficiency MNV. And it's all translated in the definition we have in the IPMVP, where you see words such as planning, measuring, collecting, analyzing data, and for the sole purpose of verifying and reporting energy savings. This is the calibration part that the IPMVP brings to the MNV practice. Next slide, please. The IPMVP, well, you probably all know the document, but it's the reason why it was created is that it was out of the need of standardizing terminology and approaches. If every company in the world has its own standard to report savings, there's no way you can compare one project to the other, and this is where the credibility fails. So the IPMVP itself is this framework. And it's articulated around the 4 IPMVP options for each for every conservation measure. So, and what's important is the fact that every facility can be the object of an analysis based on one of those 4 options. And this is what the IPMVP provide, is this framework to analyze and measure energy savings. Next slide, please. So with this brief introduction, I was asked basically to present where we are at in terms of protocol development. Some of you know that when we started the first version of the IPMVP in 1996 and the subsequent publication, it was becoming a quite big document with over 250 pages. It was a very comprehensive, but the reaction from a lot of stakeholders in the industry was that, whoa, with such a document and rules and framework, MNV is complex, it's costly, and so let's forget about that. So that's the reaction I heard many, many times. That's one of the reasons why some years ago we decided to move forward to creating the core concepts, which are essentially a summary of the IPMVP 4 options and the main concept of what an MNV plan should be. And this move created a kind of would say a regain in terms of promoting the IPMVP. And to help even further, we created the generally accepted MNV principles document, which is meant for policy people. So if you want to disseminate the concept of IPMVP, you can use this GAP document with policy people, and it's very simple to read, and people will understand all the basic concepts of IPMVP. Where we are at right now is that when we did the core concept, we also decided to divide the chapters within the the older version of IPMVP into application guides. In 2016, we published a renewable application guide, and then in the subsequent year, uncertainty assessment for IPMVP, which is essentially a guide on statistics, mostly used for MNV purposes and IPMVP. And last year we issued the MNV issues an example, where we have, I think it's 14 or 15 examples for each of the 4 IPMVP options. This year, in about a month from now, we're going to release, it says here, 1 document on the non-routine events, but we will likely have 2 application guides, one on non-routine events and one on non-routine adjustments. And this came, actually, when we revised the application, the core concept in 2016, there was a lot of interest for advanced MNV, and what was called also MNV 2.0, the emergence of a lot of finer data that the industry is able to collect with advanced metering. So with this new granularity, this whole discussion about advanced MNV came around EVO, and we decided to move forward with this application guide. And I think the other 2 presentations today will give you some understanding of why we need advanced MNV and revise some of the concepts in the IPMVP. And upcoming guides as well this year, program evaluation MNV. We have a new guide coming out on performance contracting, and we're going to publish another one as well on water application. So by the end of this year, and all the IPMVP documents are currently under revisions, and they will all be republished by the fall of 2021. So all the applications guides you see there will be published, and a new version of the core concept will also be published. And another protocol that was developed by EVO 12 years ago, the IEEFP, the last one here on the list, is a protocol that is basically a blueprint for local financial institutions to essentially understand the most common technologies and energy conservation measures. So when they analyze loan applications for energy efficiency, they have an understanding of what energy efficiency is. They have a better understanding of what MNV is as well, and how MNV can reduce the risks on their loan. And we just finished this week, actually, a pilot training program that comes with this new protocol. And it was very successfully delivered, I think. And now our next step is to publish the protocol, probably in July, and start deploying the training for local financial institutions earlier this fall. Next slide, please. Very quickly, some statistics on capacity building at EVO. Some of you on the call are probably CMVPs or have taken our training, which is on the left here, the MNV Fundamental and IPMVP for energy managers. We've trained about 12,000 people in the past 14 years. And about 5,000 in the past 5 years, so basically 1,000 a year. So there is a lot of interest for MNV in the marketplace. We have 4,000 active CMVPs in over 60 countries, and we're working with a network of 25 training partners and organizers in as many countries. We have over 40 accredited instructors capable of delivering training in 12 languages, and the training material and core concepts are now available in Dutch. And we have our first training session scheduled for early July. The information is available on our website. Next slide, please. in terms of extended capacity building, EVO created last year a new certification program, which is the Certified Energy Savings Verifier. The purpose of this new program is to build on the success of the CMVP, but to create a new brand, not a new brand, but a new class of savings verifier that could work with clients, financial institutions, investment funds, whenever detailed analysis and third-party opinion is required in the marketplace for energy efficiency transactions. What the CESV is all about is that the people that will be certified will be able to analyze the pre-installed energy savings and confirm that the estimates in the MNV plans are materially correct. They'll be able to look at the MNV plans themselves and make sure that they comply with the IPMVP and other recognized standards whenever it's required or wherever it's required. And that as well, the post-installed energy savings have been calculated according to what was designed in the MNV plan, and that they materially reflect the actual saving achieved. So what do we have in this program? As you see here, are 4 training components, essentially. The first is the MNV Fundamental, which is the course for the CMVP. We have a course on MNV planning in practice, basically a course on preparing and approving an MNV plan, which is delivered over 2 days. We're currently seeing the opportunity of holding a session in Australia, probably during the fall, and in Europe, hopefully soon. We added a component on interactive effects of energy efficiency measures as well, which is something not well covered in the other 2 trainings, and an investment grade audit, or what is called in Europe detailed feasibility study, which is another course, 3-day course. So whenever somebody takes all those courses, they can challenge and write the CESV exam and become certified. So that's the next big certification program that EVO is going to deploy. And we're also working on the ISO side to build the bridges between the ISO 50001 series of standards and the IPMVP. And there are 3 areas where the 2 series of standards can work together. The first one is ISO 50015, which is a course that we have already been delivering for 3 years now almost, and we're adding 2 components. Well, the 50015 is on MNV. We're adding the ISO 50006, which is the baseline, and 50047, which is the accounting of greenhouse gases. So those 3 courses by the end of 2020 will be offered as a package, and this is the second area of capacity building that EVO is working on at the moment. So on that note, this is where we're at with the IPMVP and EVO, and I'll be happy to take any questions you have at the end. Thank you very much. And I think now, yeah.
Hello, everybody. This is Oz from Energis, and I am in the product management team of Energis company, and we have a product, Energis Cloud, which is an energy management software. So software that collects energy data from different industries and the buildings in order to manage it, visualize it, and show it. And a big portion of our users are energy engineers who are reporting energy savings in different areas. Therefore, we know some know-how around how to calculate energy savings and IPMVP. As a part of my job, together with the marketing, time to time we are doing some surveys throughout our users or potential users. And a couple months ago, we did one survey to understand what are some pains of energy engineers who are involved in energy savings particularly the ones that are using IPMVP as the protocol to run this activity. And worldwide, we reached around 80 engineers who are actually doing it in a daily basis to understand if there is any blocking points in their business. In the end, what we realized was that a general cycle of their business goes like this. First, they have to collect the historical data in order to make a baseline, which will be then used as the reference point to make the savings calculation. And then they need to report these. So this was a bit how the life cycle of the activity was looking like. And then in every point where you can see in my slides in these 3 circles here, there were some points that we saw that could be actually done better. And the first one was that the time to spend to collect the historical data for these energy consumption profiles to generate the baselines, basically. Second one was that many historical data is stored in the utility invoice documents, but it is again very difficult to collect it from the customers in order to make a project baseline. And the third one was that to centralize all the data, sometimes one project having 1,000 buildings in the same documents, requiring a lot of data know-how and to understand how to centralize it. Once they had the data in place, the part that they had to implement the baseline, so referring to the IPMVP criteria to get an accurate energy model, which will be the reference to make the savings, they couldn't use the devices or the softwares that they were using for centralizing and visualizing the data. So they were using some external tools, some Excel documents maybe, where they had to create these IPMVP compliant energy models. And then another difficulty was finding a good model requires to connect it to different independent variables. And that requires some tools that are strong enough to maintain it. So it requires high skills to make it up and running. And the third one is that when you had the energy model that you will also share with your customer for energy savings, for instance, the make it IPMVP compliant, so statistically checking that it is a good model, was another thing that was taking time on top of building the energy model. And once we have the reference point of a reference energy model, and then for reporting the savings when they are actually happening, typically after an energy measurement conservation measure, was dynamically collecting back the data and then converting the savings that we got as kilowatt hours of gigajoules into the relevant KPIs. So presented in dollars, in euros, in carbon dioxide. So really converting the data according to the right person who will retrieve it. So who is the customer? Is it a financial profile or a sustainability reporting that we are doing? So, and next to that, having or producing different type of report from the same baseline was another difficulty that we collected. We can go to the next slide, please. And the business impacts, to quickly generalize, to say that the MMV was becoming costly. The customers might be reluctant to understand this complex, let's say, energy model that is the proof of the savings that is done. And lastly, there was a lack of flexibility in the type of reports that you are generating. We can go to the next one. So a solution to make the measurement and verification better and faster is to actually use an energy management software, but together with some data analytics tools normally. Why? Because the energy management software is going to collect data from distribution system operators or energy suppliers or the devices actually, and it will put it to one place. However, it is limited to analyze this data in order to generate a IPMVP compliant model. So the energy engineers are going outside of the software that they are running all their businesses to something like a Python code that they developed or a Minitab or Excel type of tools. And if their main software is not providing all the energy data, they can also put extra data into this, let's say, Excel environment that they are working on, such as the utility invoices, historical consumption data. And then getting a formula, which is IPMVP compliant energy model, back into the system that they're actually running in order to make energy saving calculation out of that model to show it with different stakeholders with different reporting. We can go to the next one. In Energis Cloud, what we do is to, in fact, as an energy management software, we don't want to be only in the part where you can centralize energy data and visualize it so that you can do analysis around it with different programs like Excel, Python that I explained. We identified some market needs and make it in the product itself as a differentiator to make sure that measurement and verification processes are running in a better way. So the first one is actually the fact that you can collect any type of energy data. It can come from devices like a data loggers, typically the meters, distribution system operators data, or the energy suppliers data, and even the document PDF of the suppliers for the consumption data can be put in one place. Then we have artificial intelligence that can generate energy models inside of the platform with the data that you already have in hand. And then it is quite customable in order to make different type of reports. We can go to the next slide. So what does it mean for the process that we looked at before? It means that as an energy management software, it will be able to collect any type of data, so energy related data. So there is no need to, how do you say, try to, for instance, go to the invoices of the customers and write down what was the consumption for a period and put it back to a system. It's all automatic. And it doesn't require an external tool like an Excel, because the artificial intelligence algorithms inside will use this data and will generate the IPMVP compliance model inside of the platform. And then the reporting and the automation of the different type of reports in kilowatt hours or the carbon dioxide or financial reports will be populated in the same platform. We can go to the next slide. I will quickly show you in a demo environment what it means, what I just explained, how you can facilitate the measurement and verification savings reporting with an energy management software. So for that, I will share my screen. Okay. So this is actually the demo environment of Energis Cloud that I am logging in right now. And here I will show you one example report of savings reporting that I recently generated in the demo as a user. And what I'm looking at here is that typically I have for a project an estimated saving. Let's say this is coming from an energy performance contract and we dealt on this estimated saving. And then behind this report, I actually have an energy model so that it allows me to see my current savings in percentage. For instance, in this very case, I commissioned this project in beginning of 2016, and I'm counting my energy savings in an accumulated way for every month here. As I said, the savings that I retrieve by using IPMVP protocol are converted into financial savings or carbon dioxide savings by giving in the right, let's say, conversions into these. And here I'm comparing my actual heat consumption in this case with my baseline heat consumption on the second one here. And the area in between is the savings that I have been generating in this project. And the reason why I can report it like this is actually in the behind, I am using an energy model. And what I'm doing here is, in fact, putting into the system my historical data, which will be my baseline periods. In this case, for a heat consumption profile in gigajoules, I have 2 years of data monthly, typically could come from the distribution system operator. And then, as a user, I am clicking the identify button, and it is showing me that it is going to generate a model by taking into account the heating degree days here as independent variable. In this very case, I'm showing one independent variable, but it could be heating degree day, occupancy, and the calendar data, for instance. So it is, the algorithm is allowing me to do more than one variable so that it is good for option C of IPMVP, for instance. The next thing it does is to create the model to me and show it to me in green in here, as you see. Then it is not only telling me one formula to show the model that is generated here, but it is catching the seasonal impacts. If there is a trend of the data, if there is the good correlation between the heating degree days and the consumption profile, and this profile is changing in winter, spring, summer, or autumn, it is understanding it. This is the machine learning part. It is understanding it and making an energy model which is the most accurate possible. The seasonal effects could also be weekends or weekdays, for instance. And lastly, it is telling me the model assessment with the IPMVP protocol, the statistical methods that are used in the IPMVP, the numbers that we are looking at here, such as CVRMSE and MBE and R-square, are assessing the model, how accurate it is. On top of these, what we do is that we make an accuracy, it's our own calculation to give a quick understanding of how accurate the model is, taking into account these 3 parameters and saying that this is almost 90% accurate of a model in your baseline periods. And with this information, in fact, we could make the baseline, and that allowed us to make the savings in an accurate way. And what we see ideally is that the numbers that are retrieved directly from the platform, the software, are put into an energy performance contract, for instance, to identify the baseline and is communicated to the customer. So this is a bit how it looks like, the process from my sites. And now I will give the word to Matthias, who is actually a user of Energis Cloud. So he will explain more.
Thank you, August. Hello, everybody. Thank you, August, for the nice demo of the Energis.cloud environment. First, I will have a short word about Ingenium, how to frame how we, as an engineering company in Belgium, we are involved in MNV and IPMVP protocols. So besides engineering projects, which is our core business, we also have quite some experience in energy projects, such as energy performance contracting, which we do since 2015. In those projects, one of the things we do is establish an MNV plan that is used accordingly IPMVP to calculate the energy savings that are made by the ESCO, the energy service company that who is involved into the energy performance contract. We also are involved in a lot of energy monitoring projects where we help our clients to get insights in their energy consumptions. Sometimes we also help them to report their energy savings they made, also using IPMVP and measurement and verification, mostly the tool that is available in the Energis.cloud environment. And we also act as EPC facilitator in that's the role we mostly take into our projects with the energy performance contracts. Next slide, please. I will tell you more about one of our EPC contracts. It's an EPC for 2 municipalities in Belgium, which consists of 18 municipal buildings. Total floor surface area of the buildings in total is 56,000 square meters. You see there the annual electricity and gas consumption and the energy bill of both municipalities together is 700,000 euros. It's a wide range of different buildings, going from offices to swimming pools, to sports centers, to schools, which are also in there, and also retirement home. So it's a wide variety of buildings that is into the EPC contract. Next slide, please. So one of the issues we had to tackle is, like I said, we had 18 buildings, which is a lot, and all buildings had at least 3 energy or water meters, so 3 meters, one for gas, electricity, and water. When we were in the project, we had to build 54 models, which is 18 buildings times 3 energy vectors. So 54 models with a lot of variables that could possibly have an impact on the energy, so gas, electricity, or water consumption. So we had outside temperature that could have influence on it. We could tackle that with going into the heating degree days. Probably some, or maybe most of you will know that there are some heating degree days that can be used with different base temperatures, such as 15 degrees, 16.5 degrees, 18 degree. So the base temperature is approximately the outside temperature where the building doesn't need extra heating from the thermal grid, of the thermal system of the building. So we know, for example, that for buildings like schools, like offices with less occupation hours, mostly here in Belgium, the 15 degrees base temperature for heating degree days has the best correlation. For retirement homes, 16.5 is mostly better. Those are buildings that are 24/7 occupied and are heated also 24/7. Sometimes the 18 degree days can also have a good correlation. Some of the buildings also had cooling systems. So there we had to check if cooling degree days had a correlation with the energy consumption. And also the 18 buildings, they had different occupation hours, like schools. They had large holidays where the electricity consumption is rather low. But if you look into retirement homes, they are occupied 24/7. So it's a wide variety as variables that we had to check and compare with the electricity consumption. So first we used Excel as a simple tool. It is doable for comparing 1 or 2 variables and finding correlations with the energy consumption. But here in this project, with the wide range of variables and a lot of models that has to be built, we saw that Excel was running to its limits. So that's where we made the switch. We were already using the Energis.cloud tool for a while then in energy monitoring projects, and that's where we tested for the first time also the modeling section, like was shown by August some minutes ago, and this is how we used Energis.cloud and did in this project. Let's show it in the next slide. I have a small figure how we used it. So in basic, at the bottom of the slide, you see we used the historical data for the 18 buildings. So for electricity, water, and gas, most data was given by the DSO here in Belgium, or by the client itself, or by the bills. So those data were given to the environment. We loaded also historical temperature data and so on. Heating degree days were calculated in the tool itself. Also, other variables could be gathered with a built-in Meteo tool from Energis, and then we could use the modeling section to make the models. And in the end, we didn't make 54 models. It was we saw also with the correlation that it worked with some less. I think 12 energy models were we held in the end. So we grouped them by building type, which is rather logic. So we had 3 models for the administrative buildings, 3 models for the schools, 3 models for the sports. Then we had 3 models for the retirement home that had an apart model. One of the things we also could do is when the modeling was done, we can also use that model and show in a dashboard to the client the savings they are making. A matter of fact, real time if the data is coming in real time. So that's another advantage of using that tool. It can be shown all in one tool. Next slide, please. And then some figures about the contract itself and the results of it. So it started in beginning of 2018. It's a contract that is running for 15 years. The goal of the ESCO that had the contract, so they said to the municipalities that we will save you 25% of gas and electricity as from year 2. Why is from year 2? Because in the first year, the ESCO had the time to install the ECMs, the energy conservation measures that they had planned into their offer. So in a lot of buildings, for example, they changed the windows or the glass. In other buildings, they did a relighting to switch the old lighting to LED. In the swimming pool, they installed a CHP, a cogeneration plant, and a lot of buildings also got some solar photovoltaic panels. There were other things that have been done, some fine-tuning of the building systems and so on. So which all resulted into good results for this contract and for the ESCO. So they, matter of fact, they overperformed what they promised. And during the first year, they already got minus 17% on the energy bills, which for the both municipalities was a saving of 90,000 euros in that year, which for small municipalities as in Belgium is a lot of money. And in 2019, they overperformed by 5%, so they reached energy savings for 30%, which got 150,000 euros of energy savings in the bills of the municipal buildings. So this is a project, a contract that shows that EPC works also here in Belgium, and those savings, they were guaranteed and checked via the IPMVP protocol. So it's we're rather happy with the results here of this contract. So this was my last slide. Thank you for listening.
Sorry, I was still on mute. So thank you for the presentations to all three speakers. It's now time to come to our Q&A. We still have a few more minutes before closing this webinar. So we will be taking up the questions that you have asked in the chat right now. If there are any further questions that come up, please share them through the chat and we will try to tackle them if there is time available. Again, if not, questions will be answered later on via email. I will be reading through the questions, and Matthias, Odd, and Denis, feel free to raise your hands if you want to tackle one, if you want to take it up. First question: what is your experience in regard to using AI to determine baseline? Is the algorithm not considered by customers and suppliers that have to guarantee savings?
Yeah.
I can answer that. It's also regarding to another question, which is about the AI model behind the baseline modeling. So in fact, it's in the tool of Energis. It is via an AI algorithm that is looking into the historical data and tries to find a model, a mathematical model that fits the best the variables with the energy consumption. So once the model is made, like was shown in the demo, you get a mathematical formula, and you also have the IPMVP criteria, which was shown by August, which is easy that if they are in green, matter of fact, the models are IPMVP, confirm IPMVP. So it's not that the model changes during the EPC projects or changes during over time. It's once the model is made into the engine, and then the mathematical model is saved, and that model is used every year to determine the savings which have been made during that year.
Thank you, Matthias, for clarifying on that question. Next question is how can you confirm that it is IPMVP compliant? Is it set, for example, in a disclaimer note?
So I can take this one. There is no disclaimer coming from IPMVP, but what IPMVP does, please build on that, Denis, if what I'm saying is correct or not, that gives you the statistical equations such as the CVRMSE and MBE that tells you the model that you generated and the actual data that is in that time. When you put these together, is statistically these are in correlation. It's a correct model that you generated. That's what it says, basically. A very, let's say, basic one, R squared, that will tell you the higher the value, closer to 1 the value, the more fitting the energy model is. So in that sense, we are just making a check if it is good or bad, the energy model that we generated. And it does it automatically. But it doesn't say that use this and it will be fine. It is still up to our energy engineering and IPMVP know-how to tell what the number that we are reading there is good. So in that sense, it is a tool to make it visible to you, the result of your model. If you put 5 data points for a year and expect to have a good model, of course it wouldn't give that. And it will tell you that it's a bad model.
Maybe I can add some information. I think Oz is right with what he said. I mean, the guidelines provided in the core concepts themselves and the application guides are, but they are guidelines within the IPMVP framework. If somebody's looking at the strict adherence to IPMVP language, it's included in the core concept under chapter 8. And in there, we do provide some sample language. Well, I mean, there are like specifications of what constitute an IPMVP adherent MNV plan. And there's some language which is suggested as well as that you can add in your contracts to say, well, this adheres with IPMVP because blah, blah, blah. So it's all under chapter 8 in the core concept.
Thank you for that. Well, there are many questions coming in, so I'm sure we will not be able to tackle all of them. But I'm looking here. Denis, we have one question. I think this is for you. Is IPMVP protocol available free of cost?
Yes, the simple question is yes. All you have to do is go on our website and create an account, and you can buy a 1-year subscription or having a free account, and then you have access to all the IPMVP documents for free, which was the core concept, the application guides. And I think currently we have 6 or 7 languages, French, English, Dutch, Spanish, Portuguese, Greek, no, not Greek, Turkish, whoops, and a few others, I think. But yeah, it's all free. Just open an account, create an account, and under a free subscription. And everything is
okay, thank you, Denis. Free is always good, so I think that was a very positive reply. We have another question here. Matthias, I think this is for you. Is the Energis system also used by Ingenium for supporting the municipalities within the guarantee phase, validating the ESCO fee? I suppose the bonus mal is split for the 2 municipalities.
Yes, and in some of our EPC projects, Energis is used, not in all of them, because we also we can't force the ESCO to use this software into an open offer, as we did for some projects. But it of course it can be done. In some of it is done. Regarding the bonus malus split, of course there is a bonus malus split between the 2 municipalities, so they are followed separately. And yeah, one of the municipalities has a higher energy consumption than the other one. So based on this this data, also the bonus and the maluses are split. So it is followed up municipality by municipality.
Thank you. Final question before we conclude our webinar. How can the baseline be integrated in an EPC when it is an AI model?
Maybe I can take this one. Just maybe a little correction there about the AI model here. What we would typically put to an energy performance contract would be the resulting mathematical model, which will typically look like a Y consumption equals X square plus something, X being heating degree day, for instance. So that mathematical model will be used in the energy performance contract, which you extract from Energis Cloud, in fact. The AI part is making sure, for instance, that in summer, there is a different correlation and a trend of the data sets than in winter. In non-working days, this is not a good formula. I should use another formula for that period of time. So at the very end of the day, you could get a very simple model as if it is coming from linear regression. The point is that the AI will try to make a more accurate model, and the result will be the mathematical formula.
Thank you, August, for closing our Q&A. This leaves me to thank everybody for their time. This also leaves me to thank all of our speakers, Denis, Matthias, and Os. This is the end of today's webinar. Our 3 experts and myself would like to thank everyone for showing an interest by attending this session. On behalf of myself, I also thank the speakers again. Please be informed that we will be organizing other webinars in the oncoming months. They still need to be scheduled, so there are no dates set yet. But if you are interested, I can strongly advise you to like and follow our company pages on LinkedIn. Shortly after today's webinar, you will receive an email, a follow-up email, which includes a very short survey. We would very much appreciate if you can take just a few minutes of your time to complete that survey so that we can understand and improve the relevance of future webinars. This follow-up email will also include a recording of today's webinar, which is a question that we got from quite a few attendees, whether or not this session was being recorded and shared afterwards. So the answer is yes. In case you have any other questions that you did not ask today and they come at a later time, you are always welcome to share them with us via email on info@energis.cloud in reference of today's webinar. Again, thank you to all attendees, and then thank you to our 3 speakers. You have been wonderful, and I wish all of you a fantastic ending of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dieter.
Bye-bye.
Bye.